I woke up this morning and it was -8 with a -36 feels like, whatever the hell that is. And yet none of that is as cold as a rookie getting a death stare from Aaron Rodgers. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Lombardi Time Brews. I am your host, John Del Rey. Today, we are previewing the 6-8 Green Bay Packers going against the 8-6 Miami Dolphins in Miami. Yes, the Green Bay Packers are bringing the chill with them down to Miami for Christmas Day. Yeah, just to get it out of the way right away, Sunday, Christmas, is due to be one of the coldest days of the year in Miami. So the Packers, who are traveling from this -35 hellscape known as Wisconsin, are heading on down to Miami, and it's just going to be a brisk 50 degrees down there. Actually, wonderful football weather. Probably not too much of an advantage for the Packers, but the Dolphins may find themselves just a wee bit chilly down in Miami. So yes, the game is at noon on Christmas Day, and today I'm going to be going through the last time that these two teams met. What's different? Who's their coach? What do the Dolphins look like? Yes, this is all for Packer fans looking to get to know the Miami Dolphins before we square off in what, again, not fully, not officially, but what really is a must-win game for the Packers in order to keep their playoff chances alive. Now, what are the ideal scenario for the Packers this weekend? Well, really, there's only one way they can be completely eliminated from playoff contention, and that's if the Commanders win and the Packers lose. So obviously, we need to root for a Packer win. We need to root for the Commanders to keep on losing out. A Seahawks loss would also help. A Lions loss would also help. Those are the teams that the Packers are really in the hunt against. Seahawks, Lions, Panthers are technically still alive, but Panthers and Lions are facing off, and it's more preferential for the Packers to get a Lion loss this weekend. Then, of course, the Commanders need to lose as well. One team that is fairly irrelevant to the Packers anymore, as painful as this is to say, is the Minnesota Vikings. Yes, whether they win or lose for their own sake, really doesn't have much bearing on the Packers. They have clinched the NFC North. So Vikings fans, enjoy it while it lasts. We know it's an aberration. You'll be back in the basement next year. But realistically, the only reason why the Vikings matter this weekend is because they're going against the Giants. So, yeah, if you have the heart to do it, if you've got the Christmas spirit, you can root for a Viking win. Try not to throw up in your mouth as you think about it, but you can root for a Viking win against the Giants. It would overall help the Packers. But back to Green Bay against Miami. The Miami Dolphins, who are they? Well, they've got Mike McDaniel as their head coach. He formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, where he was their offensive coordinator. The Miami Dolphins are 8-6 this year, including 5-1 at home. Now, 8-6, 5-1 at home, they're obviously a much better performing team than they are at home. And this is their first time within 4 games that they're actually going to be back at home. Their last 3 games are all losses. Yes, the Miami Dolphins are currently on a 3-game losing streak. However, every single one of those games is on the road. And they were against really good competition. They were against the Buffalo Bills, San Francisco 49ers, and the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, those are all legit teams to have to head out on the road. So in that way, the odds are already stacked against the Packers. The Dolphins are 5-1 at home, and they're finally coming back home after an extended trip away. Also, if you dive into the Dolphins' Twittersphere, you'll see that they're riding high because they feel like they actually competed against the Bills. That is the thing that can turn their ship around. They actually competed against the Bills. Not unlike how Packer fans felt when the Packers took the Bills to the brink not too long ago. The last time that these two teams met actually was in Green Bay in 2018 when the Packers were victorious 31-12. Couple stats of note from that game. Brock Osweiler. Yeah, remember him? Brock Osweiler was the quarterback for the Dolphins that day. And Aaron Jones absolutely went off for 145 yards on the ground and 2 rushing touchdowns. Bringing it back to today, who are these Miami Dolphins? That is the question. What is this team? What is this enigma that's on a 3-game losing streak? Well, here's the deal. The Dolphins, it's relatively scattered across the board where they rank, and I'm going to call off all of their rankings. But the truth is, what they do well, they do really well. Yeah, like really well. The stuff that they don't do well, they're really near the bottom of the league. Like, this is a team of 2 extremes. And where they like to live, if they execute their game plan, they are borderline unstoppable. Offensively speaking, they put up 24.6 points per game. That's good for 9th in the NFL. Rushing the ball, actually from a Mike McDaniel team, it's really surprising how much they've struggled to run the ball this year. They run the ball for 96.9 yards per game. That's 27th in the NFL. Now, again, a recent trend of theirs is that they were more successful against the Buffalo Bills running the ball. And not unlike Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers, again, if you dive into Dolphins Twitter, they've been yelling at McDaniel all year, run the ball. So, again, not that different in that way, but 27th in the NFL in rushing. However, passing, led by Tua throwing to Waddle and Hill, they're putting up 273.6 passing yards per game. That is 3rd in the NFL. They have 32 pass plays for 25 yards or more. That is 2nd in the NFL. Yes, they throw the ball deep. They use their receivers, Waddle and Hill, 2 of the fastest receivers in the NFL. Tyreek Hill, the Cheetah, has over 1,500 yards receiving already and 7 touchdowns. Waddle, his counterpart, has 1,100 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. Now, what's interesting is that those 2 basically are the Dolphins' passing attack. Basically, if you're not throwing to those 2, the next leading receiver on the team has like just over 300 yards. I mean, it's those 2. Cover those 2, and you've taken care of the majority of the Miami Dolphins passing attack. But of course, it's easier said than done when you're facing Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Just insanely fast. As for their highest graded PFF player, that happens to be Tyreek Hill. 92.4. Now, Hill this year kind of entered the year as a, well, did Patrick Mahomes make him? Is he just a speed guy? What is he? Is he truly better than Devontae Adams or Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson? Is he really one of the best receivers in the league? And this year, unequivocally, he is answering that question. He is not just catching the ball deep, or he's not just catching 5-yard outs and then being faster than everyone. He's ascending to a whole new level to truly enter the conversation of best wide receiver in the NFL, even better than former Packer Devontae Adams. Now, is it debatable? Sure, but the fact is that he has entered that conversation with this 1,500-yard, 7-touchdown season. Now, one thing of note. Raheem Mostert. Yes. The main character in several Packers fans' nightmares. Raheem Mostert. From the former 49er, from the playoff losses that he has just run through this defense. He's now the Miami Dolphins' lead rusher. He has 746 rushing yards on the year, and he himself is a speed back. But what he's doing exceptionally well for Miami this year when he does get the ball is actually run through contact. Over 500 of his 746 yards have actually come after contact. And for a Green Bay Packer team that sometimes struggles tackling, that is an extremely volatile mix. For the Miami Dolphins on defense, where are they at defensively? Well, just like on offense, they score 24.6 points per game. Defensively, they give up 24.6 points per game. Yes, wow, those are the same. How can that be? Well, because at an 8-6 record, their point differential is only 1 point apart. They are +1 in the point differential. So 24.6 points going either way. Their 24.6 giving up on defense is 26th in the NFL. In terms of their rush defense, they're about 10th in the NFL, giving up 111.3 yards on the ground per game. Their passing defense, this is where they can be exploited. Defensively, they're 27th in the NFL, giving up 246.3 yards through the air every game. Their leader in sacks, Jalen Phillips. Now, ever since that Bradley Chubb trade, because yes, they acquired Bradley Chubb, just to remind you, Jalen Phillips has been playing at a whole new level, ascending to the edge rusher that Miami thought that he could be when they drafted him. And the true strength of this defense happens to be in their edge rotation. They've got some big names in the secondary with Xavier Howard, even beyond that, Byron Jones. Like, they've got some names back there, but the strength of this D happens to be at edge with Jalen Phillips, who's got 7 sacks, team leader. Melvin Ingram, second on the team with 6 sacks. Bradley Chubb. There is some real skill there at edge, and they have a very healthy rotation. Pair that with interior defensive lineman Christian Wilkins, and it's easy to see, one, why this team defends the run well, but two, how well they get after the quarterback. But, again, where they can be exploited against is their secondary. Their secondary has not been up to snuff. Even Xavier Howard himself, the biggest name of that secondary, is giving up a 66% reception rate this year. So, what are the key matchups to this game for the Green Bay Packers? How can they march on down to Miami and melt their Frosty the Snowmans, unplug their light bulbs, ruin Christmas for the city of Miami? How can the Green Bay Packers play Grinch? Well, number one, stop Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert. Yeah, I know. Like, no kidding, right? Well, but that's the truth of it. I would expect that this is one game that Joe Barry, again, especially given his propensity for doing this even against lesser passing teams, is going to play his guys off. We're going to see a lot of deep zone. Hell, even some prevent, quite possibly called, to make sure that Tyreek Hill stays in front of them. And Waddle, for that matter. I really think that that's going to be the case. And I'm assuming it's going to drive all of us batty. But this is one game where it's probably actually warranted to play far off. To not let them beat you deep. The secondary has to improve their communication. Even last week, we saw errors and issues with this secondary not communicating. Or playing so far back that Higbee is able to run 8 yards wide open into the end zone. Now, that was not an issue of just playing back. That was an issue of something failing somewhere, right? Because playing back doesn't allow guys just to run routes on air, not near the end zone. But again, this is one game where playing far back is probably warranted. Take into account that Tua, the Miami quarterback, his advanced stats actually get worse the closer you get to the line of scrimmage for his pass attempts. So, I think we're going to see him play back. Number two, can the Packers be as efficient defensively as the other teams in Miami's current 3-game losing streak? Look, the Green Bay Packers are not the San Francisco 49ers, arguably the best defense in the NFL. They're not the Buffalo Bills, who are in the top echelon of defenses in the NFL. Well, and then there's the Chargers, right? Those are the 3 teams that Miami has lost to, and the Chargers aren't exactly an amazing defense. But here's the key. Throughout the entire season, the Miami Dolphins have averaged running 59 plays per game. Over this current 3-game losing streak, they're running only 50. Which actually puts them at the lowest rate of plays per game in the NFL over the last 3 games. Can the Packers force the Dolphins off the field? Or are they going to allow the Dolphins to continue? Just like we saw earlier in the year, the Packers just could not get opposing defenses off the field. Or not playing complementary football to where the Green Bay offense can't get anything done, and then the defense constantly has to trot out onto the field again and again and again, and then can't keep up by the end of the game. If the offense allows that to occur to the Green Bay defense in this one, by the end of the game, Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert are going to run circles around them. Green Bay's defense, especially early in the game, has to get off the field. They cannot allow long drives from the Miami Dolphins. They have to be like the Niners, like the Bills, like the Chargers, and get them off the field. Number 3. Can the Packers actually find Christian Watson this week? All the hand signal stuff aside, well, if he wants to catch touchdowns, he needs to run the right routes. Whatever Rodgers said after the game, all that stuff, right? The Packers need to get Christian Watson the ball in this game. Yes, Aaron Jones is incredible. No doubt about it. The Packers have other offensive players who are capable, but like I said earlier, where Miami can be executed against is in the opposing large pass play. And we all know that on the Packers, that's going to Christian Watson. So can they find him? Can they get the ball in his hands? Last week, the Packers came away with a win against the Rams, and Christian Watson was lined up against Jalen Ramsey for most of the game. So this week, against an inferior defensive opponent, at least in terms of secondary, can they get Watson the ball? It will be a key to this game. Last key for you. Which A.J. Dillon are we going to get? Because, yeah, the Dolphins are giving up 110 yards on the ground a game, but the Packers are still going to need that run game. Just like I said earlier, the Packers cannot have these ultra-quick 3-and-outs, and then the defense has to go out again and again and again. They're going to need a good enough run game that can sustain long drives, and we all know the key to that is A.J. Dillon. Aaron Jones too, but Dillon specifically, we've had this night and day A.J. Dillon this year. Earlier in the year, we saw him really struggling and just at times look plodding. However, over the last few games, it's the A.J. Dillon that we got to know last year. All of a sudden, it got cold and he remembered how to hit people. Or, as he attributes it in post-game press conferences as of late, it's his dad's strength. So which one are we going to get? The one that can help the Packers sustain drives? Or the one that's going to average 2 yards a carry? Because again, that very well may determine not only how the Packers do offensively, may determine how the Packers do defensively. And if the Packers can win this game. Ultimately, at the end of the day, in terms of final prediction, you're looking at two teams that realistically are heading in opposite directions. I mean, sure, the Dolphins are coming back home. First time in 4 games, but they're still losers of 3 straight. Meanwhile, the Green Bay Packers are riding this high momentum. Run the table part 2. Make it to the playoffs. Well, to do that, they're going to have to get past Miami. And to do that, they have to limit the big play and keep their offense on the field. Ultimately, I think that even though this is Christmas and not the 4th of July, we are going to see some fireworks in this game. This is a very, very high-powered Miami Dolphin offense going against a Green Bay offense which has recently found its footing. And now, even the Green Bay offense in the last few weeks, since Christian Watson became Christian Watson, they're an upper echelon offense themselves. So what are we going to see? I think because these are two teams heading in opposite directions, we're going to see the Packers do just enough. It's going to be close. It's going to be a cardiac game. But it's also going to be a Christmas miracle. Green Bay Packers going to pick up the win over the Miami Dolphins 33-30. Yes, that is my final prediction. And as always, thanks for being here today. Thanks for checking out this game preview. I hope you had an absolutely wonderful day today. I hope you have a happy Christmas Eve if that is what you celebrate. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic Christmas. On Christmas Day, I will be back. I'm going to do an immediate game reaction following the Packers versus Dolphins. But then on Monday the 26th, I have a personal family Christmas. So no video on the 26th. Next week is going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. Thanks for being here at Lombardi Time Brews. Hope you had a fantastic day. Very, very, very Merry Christmas to you on Sunday. I will check back in with you Sunday afternoon following what is hopefully the Green Bay Packers victory. Thanks everyone for checking it out. Have a good night, and as always, go Pack Go.